Okay, welcome back to the next webinar here at the Delphian School in Sheridan, Oregon. For those of you who haven't met me, I am Thomas Keel. I have been a teacher here for many years, and then about 7-8 years ago, I moved over to travel the world and introduced Delphian to families. We call that our admissions department. I've had the pleasure, with a little bit of extra time on my hands, to come in on every Monday and sometimes some other days and come in and teach some life skills webinars. So I did this webinar in a little bit of a shortened form weeks ago when we first started offering, and it was popular and I liked it. So I've decided to come back and give it again. And this is step 2, or you can call lesson 2 in the same webinar on who makes the world run. But if you missed the first one, you can easily pick up right where we left off, following with the text that I'm going to read from the learning guide, and following along in your checklist of things to do that follows the book, which is called Who Makes the World Run, and your learning guide right here. So what we're going to do today is we will call it section B, how the team plays. Section B, how the team plays. If you have printed out your guide, if you have this learning guide and you've printed it out, then we're actually going to start on page 2, section B, step 1. And we're going to read a good amount of text today from the learning guide. More than we have done in the past, which is kind of exciting. If you did the seminar before, if you did this webinar before, then you will get some new insights, some new information. And if it's your first time, there's lots to think about. As always, make sure to put your questions or your answers to assignments that I give you, put it in the question and answer box, which is where I'll be able to see it and acknowledge it and offer you any of my own feedback, okay? All right, well, enough said. Let's get down into talking about here. Who makes the world run? How the team plays. All right, so prepare with me. I'm going to read you, let's see, about a page and a half of this learning guide here. So when we think of humankind as a team that has, over a long span of time, developed or evolved what we call our culture, it is perhaps natural to ask why, or how did that happen? Did someone get them all together and agree on a plan? Of course, that's a silly question. But it is fairly clear that there was some sort of cooperation among the members of humankind over those thousands of years, whether it was planned or not. For instance, in all the long line steps in the invention and development of the computer, individuals used the discoveries of those who went before them. This is a kind of cooperation, even if it is not really together. Also, if people wanted to sell their computers, they had to pay attention to what people wanted to buy. This is another kind of cooperation between people. And suppose a person needed a special tool to build a new version of the computer, and someone somewhere else made such tools. If the computer developer gets the tool from the tool developer, they are cooperating, although they likely don't know each other at all. If the computer developer got some help from a scientific theory worked out 100 years ago, there was a kind of cooperation between the person working now and the scientist of 100 years ago. After all, cooperation means co-operation, or working together. Even if these people are not physically together, there is a connection between them that affects the actions of one or both of them. It is because of this kind of cooperation in its millions of ways that we can think of mankind as a kind of a team. So let's dig a little deeper into how this team plays, how it works, and why it works. Simple basics. We start off by getting simple. There are 2 basic ideas that can help explain why the team works. 1, people want things. They have always wanted things. For instance, maybe they wanted a better club to whack wild animals with, or they wanted a house instead of a cave. Maybe they wanted a better sailing ship or a good plow horse. Maybe they wanted to hear an orchestra play the new Beethoven music. Maybe now they want a hamburger or a pair of pants. Maybe they want a trip to Antarctica or guitar lessons. Maybe they want the latest cell phone or a new carpet. 2, people like to do things that interest them. Maybe something interests them because they are curious and want to learn. Maybe they are interested in helping others. Maybe they are just interested in entertaining themselves by doing some particular thing. People are interested in lots of different things and activities. As we will see with some examples, each of these ideas by itself helps explain a large part of how and why the team works. And often these 2 ideas can work together at the same time, and that makes the team even better. So to review, these 2 ideas are people want things and people like to do things that interest them. All right, so that's step one. And now we're going to do our first assignment, basically, okay? So our first assignment today is step two on your little learning guide here. Step two on your learning guide. I'm going to tell you what the assignment is, and then you can put your answers in the Q&A period, in the question and answer box, okay? So here we go, and welcome to everybody. I can't wait to see who's on here today. I'm sure there's some familiar names. Can't really say familiar faces, but some familiar names. All right, so the activity says, use my glasses here, think of an adult outside your school who you know wants something. Choose one where the thing wanted is quite important to the person. So like not a toothbrush or not a paperclip, but something important. I want a car, I want a house, I want a business office, I want maybe a learning degree, something more important. Something more like a computer maybe, or a refrigerator, something more valuable. So choose something where the thing wanted is quite important to the person. Explain to me, as exactly as you can, what the thing is that the adult wants. So you don't have to give the full explanations of why they want it, but what do they want? What is this thing? Who is this adult that you're thinking of? Is it your parent? Is it someone, a friend? Now you're in your home learning, so it could be someone else out in another business that you know about. What do they want? And what is it that they want? And you can touch upon that, please, okay? And then the step two is think of another adult outside of your school. It could be anywhere as far as I'm concerned. Could be in your school, could be in your home, could be friends, neighbors, who you know is very interested in some kind of activity and does it a lot of the time. Explain to me what this activity is. So it's a two-part assignment we're going to do here, and I can't wait to see your answers come in. So it's think of someone outside your school that you know wants something, and what is it that they want? And try to make it something a little bit more valuable or important. And then think of someone else, or it could be the same person outside your school, who knows, who you know is very interested in some kind of activity and does it a lot of the time. So I will now say hello to everybody, and I will begin to bring your answers in. Hello, Hartley, nice to see you. I had a nice chat with your father a couple of days ago, Hartley. So thank you for joining me. Brando, welcome, welcome. Shristina, or that's not how you say it. Shristi, hello to you too. Hello from Pakistan. Looks like we have one or two people from Pakistan. Hello, Hadai, nice to see you again. And Ethan, okay, so Ethan says, now we've got some great answers coming in. One more hello. Abhinav, some great names, by the way. Sounds like we've got guys from all around the world. So my mom and dad want a new house, says Ethan. Wow, excellent. Well, that would be definitely something that they would have to exchange or cooperate or work with others to get. My grandpa wants his daughter. Okay, I got it, Holly. I understand that. I understand that he wants to spend some time and some action with his daughter, and to have her not be ill. To not be ill. I totally understand that. And there's various people that he will have to work with to help her with her illness, huh? All right, so let's see. My dad wants, says Hartley, a side-by-side ATV. Great, so the two of you can ride that ATV together, huh, Hartley? Thank you, Olivia. Very cute response, a clean room. Not bad. We are looking for someone besides yourself and something a little bit bigger. Like what's a bigger thing that they want? My mom says Shrista wants a new job. I understand, especially in these times, that can be a necessary piece. Hello, Isabella. Nice to see you, by the way. And Lila, nice to you. Hello, by the way. Welcome. My dad and mom, Ethan says, want a new house. My dad really likes to help people and give loans. Excellent. So that's a very good example. That's a service that he does and something he's really interested in. And he has to work with people and banks and do a lot of paperwork. So, and he probably works with companies that make sure that the houses that he's loaning money for are properly representing who owns them so that a new person can buy them. Cletus says, my mom likes to garden. Excellent. So that's an activity that she is interested in. And it requires a lot of outside help. She has to get the seeds. She has to get the dirt. Of course, she has to get water for the garden, and we don't think about it, but the water comes through the pipes and comes to the house. And somebody originally found a way to access that water. A lot of different things. Abhinav says, my dad would like a house. And my dad wants to make a course, says Leela. Okay, excellent. Some kind of a course or a class for others to do. That would be very valuable and a service that others would want to benefit from. My dad, this is Alan says, my dad is really excited to get his computer so that he can do work. Excellent. I'd be curious, what kind of work does he do? What kind of work? My cousin, says PB, my cousin wants a car. You know, it's so cool. And if you think about it, a car, how many parts and pieces go into making up a car? From the wheels, to the bolts, to the engine, to the axle, to the oil, you know, to all the seats inside and the leather and the radio and the air conditioning. So much technology and pieces go into the car, and so many people help. Yes, Milo, we all want this little stay-at-home thing to end. We all want that. I totally understand. Hardy says, my mom and dad want to build a house. Really? Because I know they have the lovely house now. They want to build another one. Well, that would be incredible. It would take a lot of work and help from people in their community and from people that they've never met. I thank you, Ethan. You love the background. You know, James and I worked for a couple of minutes to get it. It's New York, and I love the sky and the water and all the buildings. We don't think about it, but imagine how much work is going on in those tall office buildings to make the world run. Some of it building and manufacturing, and some of it is just straight business, stocks, investments, etc. My friend is interested in Legos. Excellent, excellent answers. And Lila says, my dad likes to swim. Okay, excellent. And my dad says PB is really interested in cars. Yeah, and so if you think about these things, right? We talked about cars a minute ago, but swimming. You know, the pool just doesn't end up there. Someone has to build it. Someone has to manage it. Someone has to fill it up and keep it clean. Someone has to be there to oversee, like a lifeguard, but to oversee people swimming. Okay, and Hadai says my dad wants a new car. Several people want cars and houses, right? That makes sense. Ethan says, my dad has written a book, a credit book, and is making a course on credit. Wow, that was fascinating. I would be interested in that. I'm sure many people would. So if you think about it, something you're interested in, where you want to provide a service, or you want to create something that others can take advantage of, can be very valuable, not only to you and your interest, but to others if they're willing to pay and invest to get it. Ryan says, I want to drive a car. Very, very good. Okay, answers are very good. And my dad says, Jacob says, my dad wants to buy a Tesla. Someone has to keep the Zoom running. That's correct. My good friend and associate, James, keeps our technical stuff going, but Zoom itself, huh? What's the drill? Says Isis. The drill is basically think of someone outside your school who wants something. Choose a situation that's kind of more big and explain what it is that they want. And choose an activity that they're interested in. Another person, what kind of activity do they do a lot of time that they're really interested in? Okay, got it. Okay, thanks, Harley. Thanks for clarifying. I don't need to share that with everybody, but thank you for clarifying. I said, my dad, PB says, also wants to collect cars. Okay, excellent. A lot of great examples, you guys. It's so fascinating to think how many different things people do and enjoy, and how many products are produced out there. All right, so now what we're going to do is move onward to the next section of reading, as well as, after that, another assignment. Here we go. Okay, so this is kind of a longer portion, so bear with me, and we'll read it together, okay? It's got a lot of text to it, about two plus pages, okay? Here we go. I'm going to keep my glasses on. It's just a little bit easier for me. Getting things, examples. Let's look at the first basic. A person, let's call him Bill, wants something. Bill looks around and sees that another person, let's say Joe, can give it to him or help him get it. Bill wants something. Joe can help him get it. Bill figures out something that he can give Joe so that he can get what he wants. This leads to examples like these. A person who is a farmer can raise plants or animals and trade those products with someone else to get something needed, a better plow horse. A person who likes driving can carry people around in a ride service such as Uber and use the money from customers to buy things. A person who wants a certain car could do handyman work for the family that owns the car but doesn't need it until it's been earned. These are like some interesting examples, right? What we are talking about here is trading things or services. Giving something and getting something back for it is called exchange. We will assume here that we are talking about people with good intentions. That means, among other things, that they aren't trying to steal things of value from other people or trying to trick them into giving good things in return for bad things. Such people want fair exchange. not unfair exchange or dishonest exchange. Looking at the first example above, suppose the farmer has a large hay crop and someone who raises horses has a good plow horse that she doesn't need, but she does need a supply of hay. If they make the trade, both of them feel they have gained. Each felt it was a benefit and made the trade. They weren't particularly trying to help each other, but they just got something they wanted by cooperating. One person had one thing, the other person had the other, and they exchanged it based on need. The same thing happened in the other two examples. Both sides were happy with the exchanges. In these examples, we have people cooperating to make things better for everybody involved. Even though they may really only be interested in helping themselves, the exchanges they make are fair and honest, and everyone is happy with the exchange. But the second example, as you might have noticed, was a little different. The people involved weren't just trading something for something else. The trade made between the driver and the customers involved money. So let's take a brief look at money. Now, guys, let's acknowledge that we're going very basic here. You know, some of these examples are so obvious and so simple, and they bring us back into the past of how trading and business and things were exchanged. Today, we're going to talk about money a little bit, which I think is kind of a nice, simple, great idea to imagine and to recognize because we take it for granted. We use it all the time. So money is something that can go in the middle of trades. It goes between people who are exchanging with each other. It is a very smart idea that makes real-life trading much easier. Suppose the fellow who needs a car to drive people around and knows how to make pencils. He wants to trade pencils for a car. It's pretty unlikely that he will find someone with a car who wants enough pencils to trade for a car. Money comes to the rescue. Money is something that people agree represents value. It is the agreement that makes money work. If people agree that money is valuable, they will trade for it. So in our example, the pencil maker trades a lot of pencils to a lot of different people, each trade getting a certain amount of money. Perhaps after 5,000 pencils have been made and traded, there is enough money to trade it for the car. The person is still basically trading pencils for the car. Money just allows the trade to be broken down into a lot of smaller parts. And obviously, you can't make one pencil for a car, but if you made 5,000 or 10,000 and sold it for a profit, you could end up with enough money to then exchange and go out and buy yourself a car. Money is such a useful idea that most of the trades we see in life are trading some object or service for money. Then sooner or later, the person who got the money trades it for something else. So the basic action is still people trading goods or services for other goods or services. It's just that nowadays there is almost always money in between. The important thing for our discussion here is that people make these trades because they want something for themselves or their family, friends, or groups. They are trying to improve something for themselves. But even though they're doing it for themselves, it leads to a kind of teamwork that improves the lives of all the people involved. All right, and now here's, I think, a little more section we're going to do. Getting things. Let me just look to be sure I want to read it here. Yeah, getting things. There's money. Another example. Okay, great. So we're going to read down to the end of this little section. Getting things. Another example. The development of the computer is one of the most obvious changes of recent times. And as discussed, thousands of small and large steps were involved in getting from no computer to today's computers. Probably just about every one of these steps happened as a trade. Let's look at how this has worked and is still working today. We can think of like Microsoft or Apple or something like that. One, a company wants to sell computers to lots of people, trade them for money that the company can use to trade for things it needs or wants. The company figures out what improvements would get people interested in trading money for the company's computers. The company hires a computer expert. Molly trades money for her work to help them invent such an improvement. The company has other workers manufacture the computers, trades money with them for the work. Basically their paycheck, right? The company trades the computers with many individuals for a lot of money, each one sold all around the world. Now the world has an improved computer available to it, and in the process, the company has money to do something else with, and lots of people have computers. Another computer company does the same steps, but for a different kind of improvement. And 8, finally. And another company does the same, and another computer company does the same, and so on. In other words, it's not always just one type of computer, but they build off of others. And the world keeps getting better computers. After this goes on for 50 years, the world has gone from no computer to what we have today. This is what the team has produced, even if at each step, everyone just wanted to get something for themselves. So the first basic point is simple. People want things and they will trade to get them. The result is improvements and everybody gains something. Okay, great guys. So what we're going to do now is another assignment. This computer one is very interesting to me, kids and guys on my webinar, because when I was your age, we didn't have Apples, we didn't have laptops. All we had were these giant, large computers that sat on the desk and took up, half the space, had very little storage compared, and didn't do as many amazing things as you have today. All right, so let's pull up your question and answer. We'll bring you up to speed in just a minute. However, what I want to do now is sign off my learning guide and read to you the next step. It's going to be a simple activity here. And here we go. So using your example from 2 above. Now, this is the example where you thought of something that somebody wanted. Like you said, something like dad wanted cars or to build a house. These are the things, not the activities, but the things of interest. Excuse me just a second. I want you to, in writing, in the little question and answer here, tell how that person can or does create or produce something that can help him or her get the thing wanted. So, I want a house, okay, or I want a car, I want a computer, but what do I do? What do I do or create or produce that can help me get that thing? So, I have to make money. So I have to do something, sell it, offer it, service it, etc., to make the money to then go out and be able to get what I want. Isis, if you don't know a lot of people out of school, then just pick anybody you do know, okay? Excuse me, I have a little bit of something in my throat. Olivia, my mom wants to live at the Delphian School. Well, great. Thank you, Ethan. It tells that the computer started back in 1822. And the computer was first made for the government, says Isis. I think that's true. Even the internet was started through, I think, some government needs and then grew out into something for all of the world to use. Okay, so now if you can, let's get those assignments rolling in on. From your first step, the thing that your family member or your somebody you know, outside of the home, in the home, outside of school, in the school, all of those things are okay. Something that they want, something that they would like to have. Now I want you to take that example and tell me how or what does that person do to enable them to exchange, to enable them to give a product of their own or service to others that they can now generate money and use that money to buy what they want. Of course, something like a house, you don't buy it, well, you make a lot of money. You can buy it right away, all for cash, but usually you buy it over time. But you work hard making money so that you can afford it over time. All right, so we're going to give you a couple of minutes here to bring in those assignments. And I hope you guys are all having a great day. I know it's Monday. For many of us, I hope we had a good weekend with good weather and maybe some good walks and maybe some light sports with family. Or if you have a neighbor that you live with or associate with, maybe you're able to do something with some good physical distancing from them. All right, so here come in some great answers. So Alan says, my dad produces code for people. So he's a computer programmer. He's paid for the code he writes, which then allows him to buy the computer he wanted. It's excellent. Alan, in that case, he's also investing more money into something that's going to service him to do a better job at his work. Ethan says, my father does loans. Then he gets the money back with a little more called interest, which he can then use to buy a house. Very good. So in this case, it sounds like your dad doesn't just write the loan, but he provides some of the money or the financial means for people to borrow. Or he goes out and finds it through a bank. My mom goes to work, says Cletus, and then she can use that money she uses at work to buy seeds, garden pots, and soil. And in this case, this is an activity she loves, right? It's a passion for her or a hobby. Oh my gosh, Isis, thundering a lot, huh? I wonder where that is. Here it is sunny and cloudy today, no thunder. Shrishti says, my mom can get a job. She can study for whatever job she wants. I do agree. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Harley, my mom and dad work hard. My mom does interior design to earn money. My dad does finance management or finance advice and gets interest so that he has extra money. Yeah, and I think that they pay him for some of his advice or services, right, Hartley? So in both of those cases, they earn an income, which enables them to buy or invest in certain things that they want to have. You know, these concepts here are so basic. Let's just acknowledge it. They're so simple and so basic, right? But at the same time, it's good to step back and think about it, because if we robotically go about our lives just working, not bad. We get a paycheck, we do something with that paycheck. But if we can figure out our love, if we can figure out our passion, if we can figure out where we want to help people, if we can figure out some product that we're really interested in creating or adding to the creation of, it's already been created, but we want to take it further and advance it further. In medicine, this can be the case. In engineering, in technology, in sports, in the land about us, saving the planet, doing things to make sure the planet survives well, recycling. There's so many areas where each of us can find an interest or a liking or want to make a difference in, and then we can pursue it. And if we pursue it well, then we can generate some income for ourselves and buy the things or do the things we're interested in. Thank you, Hardy. I'm glad I got that right. And Ethan says, I love to code. Well, that's really cool. I love that, Ethan, that you do. And that is can be a profitable business. To do coding can definitely be profitable because it's needed. I remember years ago, I didn't get interested, but those of my friends who did coding, especially early on when there weren't as many people, could make a really good living at it. And now it's a much bigger activity all around the world. Okay, so continue those assignments coming in, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. We've got 2 more things to do for this. We're going to read a whole nother section called Following One's Interest. It's, let's see, it looks like it's 2 pages long, and then we're going to do a final assignment. All right, so if you have a couple more answers coming in, we will get to them before we click over. Let's see. Ryan says, I like coding too. That's great, Ryan. That's great. We need a lot of good coders in this world. And Lila says, my dance teacher wants to make money for her dance company so the members can perform at a bigger theater. Excellent. So if she teaches and creates a very good dance performance, dance recital, then we get to expand and go to a bigger theater. My dad works and he can use that money for a Jeep or for donations to things that he likes to support at his church. I love it. PB also likes coding. We got a lot of coders in this group. I love it, huh? 3 or 4 guys that all like coding. So I know someone who wants to do basketball, said Isis. His parents pay for him to go to the school and learn to play basketball well. Very good. So they must work to earn their money, and then they exchange for an interest that their son wants, and then he gets to learn basketball better. Okay, good. So let's move on now to the next section we're going to read, and this will be the last main section for today. But between reading this and all your great examples coming through, we will use up our time. Following one's interest. All right, I think I was just discussing that a little bit. So let's look now at the second basic point. When good people follow their own interest, it doesn't always help other people, but it isn't harmful to others. They might just be entertaining themselves in a way that doesn't affect others, but very often such people take pleasure in doing things that they enjoy and that also help others in some way. So if you follow your interest, that's your interest, and it naturally results in aid or help to others. For example, suppose a person is interested in growing strawberries, just likes strawberries and everything about them, and works with them as a hobby. Suppose that person also gets interested in seeing if it's possible to breed a kind of strawberry that is not harmed by certain bugs and still tastes good. This is just a game of interest to this individual, but if successful, will benefit others, both from what is learned in plant breeding and from having this new kind of strawberry around. As another made-up example, suppose a medical researcher inherits a lot of money and doesn't really need to earn any money to live well. But he has a personal interest in finding a cure for the disease diabetes. Perhaps there is a relative with diabetes or something else sparked an interest. For whatever reason, this individual sets out to research and experiment on ways to help people with diabetes. Maybe it's successful, maybe it isn't. Maybe at least the data from the research helps others who are working on the same cure. Either way, many people are helped. These two examples and many more you could make up show how the team can be helped even when the person didn't get anything for it. Actually, they probably would get something for it, such as recognition and appreciation for their work, but that is probably not why they did it. Wanting and interest sometimes work together. Something that can make the team much more powerful in achieving improvements is when the two basic points work together. A person wants things and also enjoys doing what helps get those things. People generally want things, food and a home for their family, a car, music lessons, or whatever. And so they have to do something productive or creative in order to exchange for what they want. People are often very fortunate to find that their interest steps in to help them at this point. In other words, it frequently turns out that they can do something they are interested in and produce or create something they can exchange. This makes the team work even better. Very simply, we're summarizing but talking about the concept of your interest, your passions, things you want to do, and turning that into something you can produce or discover that others would like to buy. Someone is interested in building nice furniture, and from the furniture building can buy a car. Someone who likes messing around with electronics builds a new gadget that people want, and as a result can afford to take a trip around the world. It is the best of possibilities. These persons got to do something they were interested in, and as a result, they got to have something they wanted. But also, other people in the world benefited by getting people furniture on a new, helpful electronic gadget, etc. Or a new. These various kinds of teamwork are very powerful. They have brought humankind from caveman to today's world of comfort, health, and pleasure. Most of us don't notice this teamwork. It just happens, with most of humankind participating even when they don't think of it that way. Economists, people who study exchange and all the back and forth of things, services, and money in society, that's an economist. Economists sometimes call this teamwork the unseen hand. I'd be very curious if any of you have heard about this before. So they call this the unseen hand. This is an imaginative way of describing the fact that people who are really just doing their own thing and working for their own benefit just naturally end up cooperating and exchanging with other people who are really just doing their own thing. It is as though some guiding force, the unseen hand, is steering things in a good direction. In other words, it is just another way of describing the natural cooperation of this team that we have been looking at. In a way, there can seem to be something magical or invisible about it, and the unseen hand is just an effort to describe that. We all benefit from this teamwork, and if we can imagine and describe it as the unseen hand, we can also imagine grabbing and holding tightly to it. After all, it is what keeps the world running. What a beautiful thought, huh? So it is an unseen hand because it's happening all over the world. It's happening in small and big ways, that some of which we can see, some of which we can read about, some of which we can learn about, but there's many pieces there that we never get to touch, see, or feel, but we're aware that it's there. However, as a younger student coming up through your education and getting ready to go out into the world in a few years to find your passion, find your interest, find how you want to make a difference in the world, or just find out what you have a desire to do, and naturally let that make a difference in somebody else's life. Well, this is what we're talking about when we say keeping the world running. All right, so let's look now. We got 10 more minutes here, so this will be our last assignment for today's class, okay? So it says this. Describe to me, in your little, in the little question and answer box, describe to me someone you know, could be anywhere, in the house, in the school, anywhere, who has an area of interest that he or she follows, and as a result is able to get the things he or she wants. Explain as best you can how both the person and other people in the world benefit from these exchanges. So you guys have touched upon this a little bit in your last assignment, but we're going to go a little bit deeper and a little bit broader. So now, someone outside your school who has an interest that she follows, something she or he likes to do, and how this helps them get the things she wants, and explain how both this person you know and other people benefit from these exchanges. So we're going to go a little bit deeper on what we were doing just before to wrap up for today. And you can share any other thoughts you want about the webinar today, or about your own interests, or what you see yourself doing in your future. I would be very interested and very curious. Ethan says, I'm currently writing a screenplay with my family. Wow, that's cool. Like your mom and dad and others are helping you and you're doing this in partnership. That's really, really cool, Ethan. All right, so let's get some additional assignments popping in now, and we'll have some more discussion about, what we're really looking at is somebody family, friend, a relative who had an interest, had a passion, has an area that they like to pursue, something they like to do and something they like to produce. And who do they exchange it with? Who benefits from this? How do they benefit? And who else benefits? And this could be money. This could be admiration. This could be respect. This could be just the joy and satisfaction of helping someone. Like I teach, it's not necessarily that I get rich from doing it, but I get the joy and satisfaction of giving you an idea and letting you share that with others. I think that's the same for many other teachers here. And now I don't teach as much, but I mentor kids. I help kids who are here. And if I can give them a little advice, all the better. Okay, great. So here comes Ryan. Ryan says, my dad is a dentist, so he can exchange with people and he helps other people because he gives them clean teeth. Excellent. Now they get clean teeth, they get strong gums. I know you can repair things inside the mouth if there's anything wrong. So there's a lot of services that a dentist can provide. I know my dentist has helped me in several different ways with some of those services. Okay, great, guys. Well, for me to stay engaged for the next 5 minutes, I need your assignments to come in, and then I'll read them and share them with you as best I can, okay? And give you any of my own input as to your own ideas. Ethan says, my dad likes to help people by lending them money. This is his interest. He benefits from this by getting a little extra money that the person gives them back. It's very good. The great example, Ethan, sometimes people need money. They don't have enough, but they need it to buy something. Could be a house, could be a car, could be a business investment. And if someone's going to lend them that money, they have to know that there's trust and the ability and the likelihood they're going to get that money back. But the person who's borrowing the money is willing to pay some extra for the fact that they have that. And we all benefit. I have that in a car loan, right? I did a little loan for my daughter in her college. We needed that service and wanted that service, so we borrowed a little bit ahead of time to make it happen. Ethan says, oh, okay, good. We just did that. Sorry, buddy. Cleta says, my mom works at the courthouse to get money for her garden. Excellent. So she helps people with some legal matter or paperwork or something like that, and then she gets to enjoy her passion of working in the garden. And Milo says, my mom helps to promote activities being done at her church. So she spreads the good word about her church, and then probably people come to the church and donate or do service, and then she gets exchanged in that way, some kind of financial exchange. But also, I imagine, Milo, often when we work for a church or a what we would call a humanitarian group, someone that's helping others, there's a real warmth in the heart that you get. There's a love and warmth in the heart that really gives you a personal benefit, huh? All right, we're looking for a couple more examples because we still have 5 minutes. And I don't need to go to lunch early today, and nor do you. So let's use these last 5 minutes up for a few more examples. And I'll let you know that we're going to, I think we're going to meet again next week. When I did this webinar before, we did a section on electricity. I think I'm not going to do that this time because there's a whole section on a store called The Gap. There's a section on a store called The Gap. Now, many of you today may not think of The Gap. We have things like American Eagle or H&M. The Gap was a big store when I was your age and continued to be for many years as I was a younger adult. So we're going to talk about the discovery and development and all the things that went into making Gap go from nothing into a big national and international store that was very, very profitable. So we'll do that next week. There'll be several pages and examples that we discover. And then, there is a final example on electricity. As I said, we did do that before, but I don't think we're going to do it again. All right, let's see if we have any more examples. Here comes a couple more. Excellent. My mom says Hardy gets paid by clients for helping them design their house. Excellent. She gives them design ideas and gives them something they can really enjoy and admire, and then she gets exchanged. Isa says, my friend wants to be a chef. This gives people more places to eat. Exactly. And wouldn't we all like more places to eat right now? I mean, if when we're ready and when we're safe, the restaurant's open, eventually your friend will be able to be a chef in a restaurant and can provide us with great food and a place to go enjoy it. This will happen again. We just have to be patient, and it'll all happen in good time at the right time for your local city or your local state. Lila says, my dance teacher likes to teach dance. She exchanges with people for this service and gets money, and she enjoys watching her students. She has a passion for dance. That makes sense. And this service gives people things like exercise and a passion and an ability and hopefully other things. I agree. Very, very nice. Isa says, I used to have a Gap sweatshirt. Oh, that's great. And Hartley says, Kramer from Seinfeld loves the Gap. You know, I know Seinfeld and I know Kramer, but I didn't remember that little trivia, Hartley. So thank you for sharing it. Thank you for sharing it. Okay, guys, we still have a couple more minutes to share any more examples that come in if you want to do so. And if not, I'll give you another minute or so. And if not, we will just wrap up and let you get a nice lunch and prepare for the next webinars. I think today we have Sterling up there is going to do Animals Along of Go. I imagine that's at, I think, 1:30. And then after that will be Corey giving a webinar on writing. Corey giving a webinar on writing. So I will give my third part of this webinar next Monday. At the same time, 11:15 next Monday. If you have any questions or anything you want to relate to me, you can send that into our events@delphian.org email site, and it'll be sent on to me. All right, so let's wrap up here. If you do have this learning guide, by the way, Who Makes the World Run? Here we go. Then you could get this out and read it if you wanted before our next class. You're a little bit familiar with it. We're going to do the section that's called Finding Genes That Fit. And we're going to read through page 21, probably through page, I think, 20, let's see, 27, actually 29 and 30. So we have a lot of work to do next week. Hopefully we'll get through it all. All right, let's see if we have any more before we wrap up. We do. Ryan, I didn't get that. It just says I have a blank and it doesn't give me the answer. So if you want to finish that, we'll take care of it. All right, so we're going to wrap up for now. I really appreciate all of you that joined today and stayed with me to the end of this webinar. And I'll look forward to us doing one more next week, okay? You're very welcome, Hartley. Bye-bye to you as well, my friend. Bye-bye to you. If anybody else wants to say goodbye, I'm out. We'll do so. Isis, thank you for the goodbyes. And Ryan, I'm happy you have a nice Gap shirt as well. So bye-bye to all. Bye-bye to all. Thank you, Lila and Shrista. Very nice to have you join me here today, okay? Here we go. Let's see if I can do this just like James wants me to. Where is it, James? Here? No.